Welcome back to CBS Mornings. We're bringing you the story today of a man who has spent decades in prison for a crime he says he did not commit. His name is Vincent Simmons. He's serving a 100-year prison sentence in Louisiana after being convicted of attempted aggravated rape of two 14-year-old twin sisters back in 1977. But there have always been unanswered questions in this case, and a judge is about to rule on whether Simmons will get a new trial. Lead national correspondent David Begnaud spent months reporting on this story, and he's got some new developments that could change this case. David joins us now. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning, Gail. What you are about to hear, the jury never heard. Starting with the initial report that the twins gave to police about who they say sexually assaulted them. A questionable photo. The forensic exam conducted by a doctor on the twins. And then we have an explosive revelation that no one has heard until we started investigating this story. In the rural center of Louisiana, there has been a haunting question hanging over Marksville for decades. Did Vincent Simmons get a fair trial in 1977 when he was convicted of a heinous crime against 14-year-old twin sisters?
He raped two of us, and he put us in a trunk to die. He had me write our names down, and he told us he was going to kill us. And we believed every word of it. And we were not going to tell anyone. Our plan was we were going to die with this.
But 2 weeks later, word got to the sheriff. And that is when Karen and Sharon Sanders reluctantly reported some details, claiming they were forcibly taken by a black man to a country road and sexually assaulted for 3 hours in a car that belonged to their 18-year-old cousin, Keith Laborde, while he was locked in the trunk.
We called him Simmons all night. There's so many things about that night. He gave us his name.
When you were questioned by the sheriff,
yes,
you never gave the name Simmons.
No, we did not.
You never described what he looked like.
No, we did not.
You said all
blacks look alike.
And you said all N-words.
That's right. Sure did.
So how are we to square the fact that that night you couldn't explain anything? You didn't have his name, you didn't know what he looked like, but now you're telling me today, and you testified at trial, that his name was Simmons.
That's right.
How does that happen?
Okay, this is how it happens. We had all three swore to each other that we would not tell a soul.
May I ask you, with all due respect?
Yes.
Why did you make that pact to not say anything? Why wouldn't you immediately report it?
Because we were scared. He told us that he had friends and that he would come back to kill us if we told anybody.
67 days after he was arrested, Simmons, who was known to police as a petty thief, was sentenced to 100 years in prison, convicted at 25 years old of attempted aggravated rape by a jury of 11 white men and 1 black woman.
The first thing I want to say to you is that I know my client is innocent.
Justin Bonus is the latest attorney to take up Simmons' case. He filed a motion to have Simmons released.
This was a legal lynching.
He is waiting for a Louisiana judge to rule next week on whether or not Simmons is entitled to a new trial.
There's no physical evidence that connects him to that crime. There's no blood, there's no semen, there's no hairs, there's nothing. Sharon talks about bleeding all over the car. Karen talks about a violent rape. Where's the evidence in the car? Where's the blood in the car? There's nothing that supports a crime happened, and there's definitely not anything that supports that a black man committed the crime.
This is important for the viewers to know. A month or so ago, the DA offered to release him, but he wanted him to register as a sex offender. And what did Vincent say to you?
No.
Why?
He didn't do this.
So he turned down freedom.
Correct.
Because a sex offender registrant meant that much to him.
Correct.
That he didn't want to do it.
Correct. Because he's not a sex offender.
This is the man who offered to release him, the current district attorney, Charlie Riddle. Why did you offer to release Mr.
Because
Simmons?
today, 40 years would probably be the sentence that we would request in a case like this.
This box, this.
Instead, Riddle is now left to defend a case that, based on new information, raises more questions about whether Simmons is guilty. Years after going to prison, Simmons obtained the district attorney's evidence file about the case. In it, he claims he found a revealing medical report from the local coroner, a trained doctor who examined the twins. That report was never introduced at trial. One of the attorneys, who was Vincent's defense attorney at the time of trial, says they never knew that the coroner said you were a virgin, that the coroner said there was no evidence of sexual assault found on either one of you.
Okay, well,
They didn't know that.
Well, it's 2 weeks later, and it's still not important. The fact is, he still attempted, and he wasn't successful, so he still raped me, and he did rape her.
So how do you react, though, when the report essentially says
I
there
don't
was
care,
no
because
evidence of sexual assault?
Because it doesn't matter. There was.
Because we know.
By now, I think if we were lying, we would have given up. But I'm not giving up.
In 1994, Simmons took the medical examination report to a parole board.
We didn't have none of this evidence. None of this evidence was presented before the jury because the DA had it in his file. They testified before the jury that they were brutally raped. They repeatedly asked them, would they be able to identify this person again if they saw him? They say no, because all blacks look alike.
And he presented another piece of evidence that he found in the file. He says this is a lineup photo showing him in handcuffs.
This is a joke. It's a joke. It doesn't get any more suggestive than this.
Did the two of you and Keith all pick Vincent Simmons out of the lineup?
Yes, we all three did.
The lineup shows him in handcuffs.
Yeah, it sure does. And that's been a big problem because when we picked him, he was not in handcuffs.
I'm telling you that the deputies that were there and present and the victims say that he was never in handcuffs when they identified him.
So is it possible that you made a mistake when you picked him in the lineup?
David, I have lived 44 years with his face in my brain, and there is no way that I would have spent 44 years if I had the slightest doubt in my mind that I did not have the right man in prison.
We wanted to speak with the prosecutor who got Simmons convicted about allegations that he withheld evidence that may have exonerated Simmons. David Begnaud here for Eddie Knoll. Though he repeatedly declined to speak with us, former District Attorney Eddie Knoll says in a sworn affidavit that the defense had access to the entire file. He says he is convinced the evidence supported Simmons' conviction. And about that photo, he says he was told it was taken after the lineup.
So it was information that is explosively helpful for a lawyer to use.
Before she became a Louisiana criminal court judge, Lori White represented Simmons and tried to get him a new trial.
It was pretty clear to me that the defense did not have information to impeach the witnesses. They did not have the police report. They did not have that photograph of a physical lineup. They did not have what was a rape kit at that time for the coroner to have physically looked at the two alleged victims. Had a jury heard, I don't think they would have convicted, or they would not have convicted perhaps of that charge.
He did it, he just didn't. You know, I have it.
Of course he did.
It is among 16 unsuccessful attempts to get his conviction tossed out.
The board has voted this time to deny your request for parole.
Now it is Attorney Justin Bonus's turn. You already have a judge who said to you on the record that Mr. Simmons was convicted without the total picture. Do you believe you're on the verge of getting a new trial?
I pray that I am. I don't know what to believe. Until it happens, I don't know what to believe.
Attorney Justin Bonus has told the judge overseeing the case about what he calls explosive new evidence from a sworn affidavit made by Keith Laborde's cousin, Dana Brouillette. Dana Brouillette says long after the trial, Keith admitted to me that Vincent Simmons did not rape Sharon and Karen and did not put them in the trunk of the car. Dana Brouillette goes on to say, he told me that he had had consensual sex with one of the girls and locked the other in the trunk while he was on Little California
Oh my
Road.
God, she is a sick woman. She has no clue.
Say that was the truth. And they believed that really happened. Why didn't they go report it?
Hello, Mr. Laborde. My name is David Begnaud with CBS News. Keith Laborde was not home when we stopped by. By phone, he refused our request for an interview. He insisted that Simmons is guilty, and he says he did not have sex with Karen. The sheriff asked you if you had been sexually involved with Keith, and you told him no. It's an uncomfortable question, so I'm pausing because I don't even like asking it. But
Go for it.
I got it. I know, you're already there. I know.
It's fine.
Did you have consensual sex with Keith Laborde?
We were kids.
Yes, ma'am.
We experimented. So yes, if that's consensual, if that's whatever word you want to put to it.
This happened before you say Vincent Simmons raped you.
Yes.
How old were you when it happened?
I don't know, 9, 10, maybe.
And is this the first time you're saying this publicly?
Yes, it is.
That's as newly discovered evidence as it gets, man. And it's out of the horse's mouth. She's no longer a victim. My client's a victim. It's evidence that Vincent, at trial, his defense attorneys would have ran to that so fast, they would have blamed Keith. Now that we know that this guy was preying on her, and she for the first time reveals this, it calls into question everything that she said before. Everything.
One thing has nothing to do with the other thing. Yeah, we were young, we experimented, but that has nothing to do with what Vincent did. That's two separate incidents. That's two separate things.
The twins insist they are the victims, wounded by what happened, and they blame the legal system for not ensuring that Simmons' unanimous conviction was irrefutable. They know the challenge that they're facing.
My thing is this, because of what maybe should have been done, that wasn't done, the things we should have said, that we didn't say.
Also.
And what we didn't say.
Our word is against his. There's no evidence.
And
so it would be hard to fight it.
If the judge orders a new trial, are you both willing to testify at the trial?
Oh, absolutely. I will testify.
Karen?
No.
That's a no. I will. I'm not doing it. I've already been there. We've done this. Why am I going to put myself in that position again and take the chance of him walking out?
Because right now, anyway, we're at a 50-50 that he could walk out anyway. So if we go to court, we're still at the same odds.
I'm not going to put myself and my family back through that either, Sharon. Don't you get it? It doesn't matter.
Because if we don't and we back down now, then it gives the world more of an opportunity to say they're lying, and that's why they're backing down.
Sharon,
they don't
want to fight it. It doesn't matter anymore. The world's going to think what they want to think. No matter how hard we fight, it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It doesn't.
I want him to be miserable for the rest of his remaining days.
Sharon, guess what? There's coming a day when he'll stand before God and he will be miserable. He's already been judged guilty. He will die guilty. And when he goes and he stands before the Lord, he will still be guilty. Okay?
All right, Karen.
So here's what happens next. Next Monday, a judge will decide whether or not to grant Vincent Simmons a new trial. That judge has already said that there's a constitutional violation in which Simmons was convicted without all of the evidence being given to his defense team. If the judge declares a new trial, sources say the district attorney will not retry Vincent Simmons because he believes he'd probably lose.
So let me get this straight. Keith is the cousin?
That's right.
And originally it was reported that Keith was locked in the car.
That's right.
And now we're finding out that Keith had apparently had sex with one of the sisters. That was never revealed.
Karen says that. Keith denies it.
There is an air of racism that hangs over this whole case. I'm curious whether the sisters said to you in a different clip that, oh, they're not racist. Yes, they use the N-word. Yes, they said all black people look alike, but that's not them. Did they deny that in any way?
The sisters do not believe they are racist. They admitted saying all black people, all N-words look alike, and they say it without sort of wincing, right? Growing up in South Louisiana, I can tell you back in 1977, with the KKK where it was, there definitely are hints of racism in various parts of the state. Was racism baked into this? One of the jurors, the only black woman who was on that case, says when she walked into the room, she said, the white men looked at me and they said, doesn't matter what you think. He's guilty.
I'm still stunned by the cousin revelation. I find
Everybody.
that,
Me too.
Yeah, I'm
That's
still stunned by that.
And no physical evidence
to connect them, yes.
Spellbinding.
David, amazing reporting as always. Thank you very much.